What is up, Rally Towel fam? Good evening and welcome to Le Show. Joined you tonight, we have Todd, Aaron, and myself. Corey is not able to make it tonight, but we do have his picks. Last week was actually a lot closer picks-wise than I originally had anticipated. We've got a great show for you guys tonight. Week one was insane. We're going to talk all about it. We're going to get into week two picks, and it's going to be a fantastic show. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Great.
I mean, you're doing fantastic. I'm
Not
great.
everybody at once here.
I was letting Todd go, and then we had that little little Midwest Hope action going.
So Aaron, the backdrop's different, man. Where are you at?
I'm hanging out in St. Pete's, Florida right now. I'm here for work, unfortunately, so not as fun, but can't see it now. But out this
Bruce,
window,
thanks for liking the stream.
Out here behind me in this window, besides the beautiful king bed I have,
Sports
right off the glass is the Gulf of Mexico.
Dude, so, thank God you don't have anything incriminating on that bed right now.
God,
yeah, I'm down there for work, and there's just a bunch of fucking whips and wild sex toys hanging out on the bed. I'm here at St. Pete's for my job.
Hey, Aaron, what's this expense report?
Yeah. Aaron, your T&E $210 from Target with an ETE at the end. What is that? Where did you
Whips
go?
and things.
Yeah, yeah. Just silly things.
You know how they do it down here in Florida.
I'm not quite sure what it is, but
Bruce coming in with a scary but maybe accurate comment. He hides the bodies in the trunk.
I drive a Kia Forte, so I hide the body in the trunk.
So,
well, I mean, I think you can fit a couple Dexter, in there. You just got to get creative.
Yeah,
we've seen enough Dexter to know.
Yeah. Also, all of us here have played Tetris.
Yeah.
True.
And all of us have packed for a vacation in a vehicle that's too small for all the belongings.
You're
I'm kind of out here in Dexter country. There's just you can dump bodies all over.
You can throw somebody in the swamp down there. Shit.
That's the review that you should give the hotel when you leave. 4 stars.
Easy place to dump a body
out here. Yeah.
I couldn't be more pleased with the location.
Yeah, man. So we're chilling tonight.
Just give the devil smile. Nobody will know what it means.
Absolutely, the Snapchat filter with the horns. All right, Todd, give us a recap last week. Picks, who won, who lost, placement, all that good stuff.
Well, week one, we did have 3 games last week where Lions were incorrect. So we had Lions
Seahawks.
and Kansas City. Yeah. So Lions and Kansas City, we all had
Kansas
KC. Raiders at Denver. We all had the Broncos.
We did.
And then Rams at Seattle. We all had Seattle there. So those were the 3 games where we were all comparable in being incorrect. And then we did have a couple of lone wolf games. We had Corey being the only person being wrong about Buffalo winning on Monday night, which is bizarre.
You can cross that one off, though.
I literally – we'll get into that game here in a minute.
And then Aaron, the only one being right about Cleveland beating the Bengals.
Let's go.
Right? So
and not only beating, but absolutely destroying.
Okay, well, that's enough. I mean, we could talk about.
It's not.
The Steelers got shellacked too, so I mean, it is what it is. It was bad.
Who else was on the Packers then, or was everybody?
I think it was a split game. I had the Bears.
Oh, that's right. Aaron was alone on that too. I apologize. Aaron was alone on the Green Bay Chicago game. He was the only person that picked the Packers to win week one. I think. So I want to start with that game first because I think that game to me was the most. Besides the Rams beating the Seahawks, I was most surprised by Green Bay losing or beating Chicago.
I mean,
and
go ahead, Todd.
No, so I was going to say I think the thing that surprised me the most was the horrible play calling for Chicago on offense. Watching that game and watching the routes being run, the attempted misdirection that they had, it just seemed like there was a lot of broken plays by Chicago, which to me, if it's play calling or if it's Justin Fields or if it's the offense not gelling, that's not good, right? That scares me for the Bears. Obviously, Aaron said it in his notes leading into last week that this was the worst team in the NFL last year. So it's not like you expect them to turn around.
Yeah, this was the one I'm glad I wanted to lead with because I know I wasn't on last week, but Todd, Todd, you did a great job, by the way, of Thanks, capturing my voice in the notes there. Because this was the one
I must be taking crazy pills.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like I'm taking fucking crazy pills, dude. The Packers had no business being I bet that one hard. They had no business being underdogs in that game, and doing our over/under pod, I was high on the Packers in general. I think this division is going to be kind of a crapshoot, which I think we saw on Sunday and Thursday, frankly, with the Lions winning, the Vikings losing a game that they should have won to the Buccaneers, and of course the divisional matchup between the Bears and the Packers here. Guys, Jordan Love, there was nothing that told me that he was going to be bad. We hadn't really seen enough tape on him, and what we know about quarterbacks that have time to sit, they typically do pretty well when they are thrown into it. One of the biggest things I did last week too was, and I know a lot of you guys did too, but it's fade the rookies. Jordan Love isn't a rookie. He certainly doesn't have the playing experience of some of these guys, but he's had the NFL experience of sitting behind a Rodgers, being in that system. And one of the things I really like about the Packers too is, so you talk about Matt LaFleur. They were kind of playing his offense, but it was basically whatever Rodgers wanted to do. The thing I'm interested about the Packers this year is the fact that, we're going to see them actually have a quarterback that wants to be coached, and I think that's going to be a big difference for the Packers this year. And I think that was very, very evident. And it's not, the sky is falling in Chicago by any means. But, this was the team that had the worst record in the league last year. There's going to be some growing pains, guys.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up. Oh, go ahead, Todd. Sorry.
No, so I was going to say, I think my big takeaway out of watching that game, and specific, if I'm talking player specific of that game, is that Chase Claypool might be playing himself right off of a roster here, fellas. I don't know if you guys followed any of the videos posted after the game of him or his lack of performance within the game, but there were multiple perimeter plays where he was blocking. One specific play where he just ran into somebody with his body and never put his hands up one time. Had 2 targets. Both targets arguably could be dropped to incomplete pass, kind of 1-to-1 there. And then the follow up after the game is that he's just been garbage in practice all week too. And this is if I'm a guy like Chase Claypool in this offense, obviously they trade for DJ Moore to give up that number 1 overall spot, but this is still anybody's offense within that regime that could be your target leader or be a guy to be your playmaker in that offense. And he's kind of blowing that chance. And it says a lot to me about just his general character, right? You don't see a lot of guys.
Steelers let him go.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was alluding to. I think Pittsburgh's always been pretty good at picking up on who's real talent and who's not real talent. And that's why Pittsburgh said, hey, I'll take a 3rd-round pick for a guy that had 7 good games in his rookie year. Thank you. I'll take that. So
yeah, I mean, I think, Todd, I think you said the most important thing there is it's a character issue.
Yeah.
Like the guy just doesn't look like he's there for a paycheck. And that's it. He clocks in, he sits down and makes himself look somewhat useful when people are watching. And then, behind closed doors, he's lazy.
Yeah.
Claypool's your classic guy that when he's getting off the bus, you're like, damn, that's a football player. And then when you actually see him play, it's unfortunate. But for the Bears too, and hats off to the Steelers for basically being able to turn Claypool into Porter Jr. I mean, that's incredible. The fact that
not only take that trade 10.
Yeah, you take that trade all day. Not only that, but when you factor in the fact that it was the Dolphins that lost their 1st-round pick, essentially that 2nd-round pick was pick 32. So in any other year is a 1st-round pick. So even extracting even just a tad bit more value because the Bears had 2 2nd-round picks and the Steelers were like, no, we want yours. And good for them.
Big move. And I think just to kind of to end the sentence here on this Green Bay Chicago game is I think Aaron's right. I think Jordan Love is a guy that spent enough time watching plays evolve. I think that's a big thing for a young quarterback, and you're watching them try to kind of figure out how they mix into the league. And I watched Jordan Love be extremely patient and make good decisions, not trying to force plays or become a playmaker, and just letting the game kind of unfold, and then being a great game clock manager once they took a lead. Yeah. I think that's the big thing, guys, is because he lost Aaron Jones in that game, right? And
Aaron Jones was cooking.
Yeah, and now he was. And he never. It didn't seem like once he came out that they really slowed down. So kudos to Jordan Love and the Packers for taking one out. Rob, sorry, you're stopping in at probably the only time you're going to be offended this evening. But appreciate you tuning in. But guys,
evening to you, Rob.
I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off here, and I'm gonna make a couple statements about the Browns-Bengals game, and then I'll open it up.
All right, you rip these statements off, then we're gonna get into picks.
Yeah, overly disappointed. Joe Burrow had his worst performance in his entire NFL career. Jonah Williams arguably played the worst right tackle I've seen anybody play on the Bengals in several years, and that's including Isaiah Prince and Akeem Adeniji and Jackson Carman, all playing that position at one point in time over the course of Burrow's career. Sure. I mean, only sacked twice, but a ton of pressures, no time to get the ball out, and from watching the game, I was disappointed that they didn't try to run the ball more, because they had there was a lot of efficiency when they did run the ball early in the game, and even getting into the second half. And once they got down, they went away from the run game, and it was very overly disappointing. It was hard to watch.
I had a great time.
Todd, yeah, I do want to make sure. First off, I want to give a huge kudos to the 49ers defense. They are fucking legit. 49ers were unbelievable last Sunday.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to take away from Myles Garrett and what he was able to accomplish against the Bengals. That man was playing with so much swagger and so much confidence. I don't know how much of it, because I was working. I only got to see the highlights. I didn't get to see the transition of the game. I didn't get to see the momentum and all that. But from everything that I saw, Myles Garrett was getting whatever he wanted, and he was playing with a ton of confidence. And for the rest of the AFC North, that is terrifying, because he is such an athlete. And as a Browns fan, you've got to be elated, Aaron. But seeing that, from a viewpoint of, I'm not a Browns fan, I am fucking terrified to play the Browns this week.
Yeah, so I mean, hats off to Jim Schwartz, without a doubt. I mean, we were clamoring for Joe Woods to be out of here as defensive coordinator, because I don't think it was a talent problem, and that's what to me showed up the most evident on Sunday. Yeah, Myles Garrett was fantastic, but the biggest thing was his presence allowed everybody else to just feast. That first play of the game,
they got to line up Zadarius Smith over Jonah Williams all game, and Jonah Williams bottom 3 PFF score at right tackle this week.
For how well of a game Myles Garrett played, he didn't get a sack until that fourth down in the fourth quarter when the Bengals went
realistically, he had, I believe Myles Garrett had
6 hurries or something like that.
Yeah, so 3 real legitimate pressures, several hurries, and then that 1 sack. But it was Zadarius Smith to me. I mean, obviously Myles Garrett played the way he played. I'm not discrediting, but Zadarius Smith was.
But again, that's part of it. It
just goes to show you how important Myles Garrett is, because he got so much attention that everybody else was able to eat.
And 2 quick points on this game, and we can move on. But I do want to touch on it just because we're talking about it here. One, from the defensive standpoint, the secondary was phenomenal. T. Higgins, I mean, to allow T. Higgins to not have a catch is just insane. I mean, between Denzel Ward,
the whole Joe Burrow to 82 yards passing, that is a fucking accomplishment.
And don't get me wrong, I know it was raining. I know the elements were certainly a factor in that game. And the other weird part about this, guys, I live 15 minutes from the stadium, bone dry. It was like, if you looked at the radar, it was literally only raining over the stadium. It was this weird lake effect part that came over. It was insane. I am literally no more than 5 miles, 6 miles from the stadium. No rain at all. None. Not a drop.
That's
and
wild.
it was insane. So and that was the thing too, is I don't think either of these teams, you look at the weather report, there wasn't any call for rain. It was just this weird pocket that just kept kind of just like circling the lake. And it just, it wasn't, yeah. I mean, it was just the lake, it was the lake effect weather, and it just didn't let up. So the point is, I don't think Deshaun Watson played a great game, but what he did do was play better than Joe Burrow in the same conditions. So I'm not saying that means a whole lot. I think the Bengals are going to be just fine. But Todd, when I sent you over our picks for last week, that was the call for me. The Browns always play the Bengals well. Joe Burrow is now 1-5 against the Browns in his career.
Not good.
If the Browns were going to get one, it was going to be at home. Joe Burrow didn't play the preseason, coming back from injury. They're going to be out of sync a little bit. New offensive line. Like I honestly believe, like, I know I was a lone wolf on this one. I was a little bit surprised, frankly, because again, I fully anticipate the Browns losing to the Bengals in Cincinnati next time that they play. I think this will be an entirely different game, but all of the conditions were perfect for this one, for the Browns to come out and steal it. Also, just having the monkey off your back of finally getting a week 1 win last year, like that was just a little bit where I was like, all right, let's roll with these guys this week. I loved it. Josh in the chat talking about Garrett's, crossover move. That's just a guy out there having fun, man. Like that's just fun to see.
Yeah, well, when you're in the driver's seat, when you're in the driver's seat, that's what you get the opportunity to do these things, right?
I will say that, like, when you're a fan of that team and you see a guy out there with that kind of swagger, like that's the kind of stuff that gives you chills. That's the kind of stuff that gets your dick hard. You're like,
and it was sweet. I have never seen them move Miles inside like that to allow him to attack one-on-one a center or a guard while you have this defensive line. And then, of course, these guys in the backfield that are going to, get coverage sacks and everything like that. I really think that this Browns defense has a chance of being, top 5. The other thing I do, and I promise we can move on from here.
Last point, we're moving.
Bengals defense played really well too.
Oh, there's no question. They just got gassed. Like
they're going to be fine.
They were just on the field too long. That's just
the Browns
what it was.
needed that game more.
It was just the pace of that game, and like that's not taking nothing away from the Bengals. They're still Super Bowl contenders at this point, and I don't think there's anybody that's going to sit here and argue that. But it was just the pace of that game. It's just everything went the Cleveland's way, and it just was what it was. It's week 1. Yeah. It's not a big deal. There's 16 games left. There's plenty of time. So
top 3 projected teams in the AFC lost this week, fellas.
Oh yeah, it was Corey's famous line, parody. The NFL is full of parody, and week 1 had a ton of it. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to start with the 1 o'clock games here. Starting off,
we have a Thursday night game.
Oh, I'm sorry, Thursday night game. Excuse me. We actually have a good one here too, or at least what could be a good game. We've got Minnesota taking on Philly in Philly. The defending NFC champions taking on the Vikings on the road. Let's start with Todd. Todd, Philly at home against the Vikings. Who you got?
Yes. So Philadelphia's going to be missing 2 pieces of their secondary, one of their running backs in the regime. I say that just to make it sound like I feel like I'm questioning the game at all. I'm taking the Eagles here. I watched Minnesota's secondary get waxed by Baker Mayfield on Sunday from the highlights. I mean, they kind of let him throw the ball wherever he wanted to, whenever he wanted to. Not a lot of pressure on Baker as well from an offensive line that's missing really their captain, and then having Tristan Wirfs is what he is, but he's playing a position he hasn't played since his sophomore year at Iowa, and there was no pressure on him. But I mean, it was rough to watch Minnesota's defense. I was kind of thinking maybe they improved in some way. It's still a bottom 5 defense, fellas, and Jalen Hurts is what he is. That offense is what it is. I'm taking the Eagles.
Aaron,
did we end up reading off the record too? By the way, I know we kind of went through.
Oh, sorry, we did pass by that. Aaron, you were 10-7. I was 9-8, and Corey and Todd both were even week 1. Okay. So you have the lead with a 2-game buffer on Corey and Todd, and I'm in second.
So I'm going to echo some of Todd's points here. I mean, I think Minnesota, they were a team that I was really questioning in coming into this year, but I still inevitably took the over just because I didn't really know how to pick that division. Again, I was high on the Packers. I was low on the Lions. If I could switch those right now from the Lions and the Vikings, I would. Hindsight being 2020. That was a game last week that I just fully expected the Vikings to win. Like this was a penned in loss.
No brainer. Yeah.
No brainer. Like, okay, they start 1-1. That's fine. Now I'm looking at this team like, oh shit. Justin Jefferson still did his thing though, boys. I mean, he is just the best receiver in the league. But this defense for Minnesota is going to be a problem. And to ask Kirk Cousins to air it out, to come back and in lieu of this defense is going to be a tough task. Bobby, I know you kind of tripped up a little bit at the start of this one, saying the Super Bowl, defending Super Bowl champs. They're going to be the Super Bowl champs this year, boys. That was my pick at the beginning of the year. I'm not going to waver on that. I got the Eagles here, and I got them easy.
Yeah, Corey. I don't have notes on Corey's picks, but Corey also has the Eagles this week, and I'm assuming it would be a dominant victory as well, considering the performance that the Vikings displayed last week. So, Todd already filled it in for me. That's fine.
Primetime Kirk? I don't know.
it's primetime Kirk. It's not going to happen. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts honestly had a slow start. He didn't play great last week, and they still got the dub. So Eagles all the way, no question. I think Justin Jefferson still eats, and it is what it is. The Eagles, in my opinion, are the best team in football, and I don't think it's close. It's going to be the fight is going to be in the AFC for who's going to play them. I no doubt in my mind it's going to be Eagles Niners in the NFC Championship game, and I think the Eagles prevail again, and we're gonna see whoever's going to take them on, whether that's going to be the Chiefs, the Bengals, one of the two. So might be a repeat of last year. All right, let's move on. We're gonna go to the 1:00 games now. We're gonna start with Green Bay, led by Jordan Love, headed on the road to Atlanta. Aaron, who you got?
I mean, I'm going to keep rolling with the Packers here. Atlanta, hats off to them for getting the win last week. It was against a rookie quarterback making his first start. Those are pretty easy fades.
Josh, thanks for liking the video.
Bijan Robinson looked fantastic, but when you have 4 combined targets between Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Kyle Ritter, when you got Desmond Ritter throwing for
15
attempts, 18 attempts, like that's not what we're looking for in today's NFL. I do not like Ritter at all. I liked him coming out of college. I'm not saying that the kid can't turn this around and still have a professional NFL career, but in my opinion, it's going to be as a bottom 10 starting quarterback, middle of the road backup quarterback for a good team. I think is his destiny in the NFL, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a valiant career. I would love to have it. Give me the clipboard, I'll hold on to it. Give me on the Bose system, I'll get my voice in there. But in terms of what I saw out of the Packers, again, we touched on it at the beginning here. I was pretty high on Jordan Love coming into this year. He did nothing but show me that. I mean, he was one of the best quarterbacks, statistically that we saw in week 1. And granted, it was a pretty weird week 1, guys. Like I believe 58 total touchdowns, guys. In 2021, I believe it was 72. The year prior to that, it was 83 total touchdowns in week 1. We had 58. It was a weird week. So I'm not saying now. What I would say is if you want to, venture into a couple overs this week, that might be a smart move because the under hit at such a ridiculous clip. But this is a game right here, even on the road, that I think the Packers can handle. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons win, just because the NFL can be weird like that on the road. But I'll take Jordan Love and the Packers to keep rolling here and keep rolling to that NFC North.
Todd.
Yeah, so this is a Packers team that put up about 350 yards of offense last week compared to a Falcons team that gave up more yards than they earned in a win. You don't get to say that very often, but that's what happened. That's how the game shook out. And I don't like the odds of that winning week over week, fellas. And I just went back and looked at Jordan Love's stat line just to get a little bit of insight as to how he spread the ball around. He had 7 different targets, one of them not being Christian Watson because he didn't play last week. I think that's his most valuable target going into week 2. And I just, I just continue. I imagine that Jordan Love will only improve at being able to spread the ball around, and we likely won't. I believe we won't see Aaron Jones this week, so I'm interested to see AJ Dillon get those thick thighs out there and run the ball a little bit more. I think that's going to be very interesting to see what he does as he takes on a leadership role in the backfield. But I'm taking the Packers too. I'm not low on Desmond Ridder, but again, you can't get outperformed on the offensive side of the ball and expect to win week over week. You just can't.
Yeah. This is a game that's, for me, I'm not willing to go against the grain because I just don't believe in Atlanta. I'm taking the Packers here. Jordan Love impressed me last week, to be completely honest. I thought he played a lot better than I thought he was going to. We had seen snippets of Jordan Love, throughout the Rodgers era in Green Bay, and to be honest, they weren't impressive. But then again, we hadn't really seen him at the helm taking the first round snaps and really getting the opportunity to be the number 1 guy. And we got to see that week 1, and he was one of the best quarterbacks on the field week 1 across the league, statistically. And it's just one of those things where it's like, damn it, how does Green Bay continue to turn out great quarterbacks every single time? And I'm not ready to say Jordan Love's great, but if week 1 is any indication of what we're about to see, it's going to be another era for the Green Bay Packers with a solid quarterback at the helm. So Aaron Jones being out is going to be huge because Aaron Jones did a ton for them in week 1. And Todd, you mentioned it, AJ Dillon. I'm ready to see what he's got to bring to the table, because that hamstring injury for Aaron Jones is concerning, because that man was absolutely tearing it up against the Bears before he went out. I mean, I think he had like 30 fantasy points in the first half.
He had that big touchdown catch, and he had a touchdown run in the first half, and that seals the deal, because I believe the touchdown catch was like a 40-something yard reception. Yeah. Then he had another 40-yard reception.
He had a big game. So, he had a big game going, and he was only going to continue to keep having a great game, but he got hurt, obviously. So, but don't get me wrong, Bijan Robinson, that man's the truth. He had a great week 1. I think he's going to have another great week, but I just don't think he's going to be enough to beat the Packers. So
him and Algier cooked in that game. They both had above average games from a backfield, but that's, again, we talked about it in our pick'em for the NFC, that is Atlanta's structured around running the ball first, and that's just not a recipe to win in the NFL anymore.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Real quick, while we're on the topic of the Packers, hey, Packers fans, chill, okay? Like the Aaron Rodgers victory laps and that guy played so well for you, won you a Super Bowl. It's, to be honest with you, it's very cringy. I hate it. I saw it all over social media. It was honestly borderline gross.
Yeah. While we've got a few of you in here, I do want to run something by you. We want to run something by you. We want to try to, we do this pick 'em every week. We want to see how many people are interested in actually maybe contributing $10 and then having a payout at the end of the week for a weekly pick 'em. And then maybe $9 for every pick 'em goes towards this week, and then $1 goes towards the grand prize at the end for the best record. If anybody wants to participate, just DM us or hit us up privately. We'd love to get something like this going and get some more participation on the picks. So if that's something that interests you, just throw a thumbs up in the chat. Carp, what's going on, brother? Welcome.
Hey,
for everybody getting in here. Make sure you say hey. Let us know, just tag along with us as we're going through each game and let us know who you got. So first 2 games, we're all on the same side here. We've all got Philly. We've all got Green Bay.
Yeah, Corey went Green Bay as well.
Yeah, Corey did go Green Bay as well. Todd, I am missing the side commentary from. I know Corey probably didn't go as in depth as Aaron did with his notations and.
I just got picks. All I got was picks. From that text message when that rolled through, I thought Aaron was breaking up with me.
I mean,
hey man, if I'm not going to be here, I want to make sure my voice is still heard.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and Todd, you did a great job.
Bring a little
the inflection and the tone as well.
Yeah,
Todd really channeled it. I got to be honest. I had an auction league fantasy draft that night, so it was like I couldn't. Those are too involved, so that was why I was out. Yeah. And I went back and listened to it the day after, and boy, Todd really caught my voice. I loved it.
He did.
Thanks, man.
It's actually kind of beautiful.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
All right. Well, we're going to be heading to the land of the Buffalo Wing. We're going to be headed to New York. Buffalo Bills are at home taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders who caught a win when none of us thought they were going to catch a win last week. So I'll start with Corey. Corey's going to lead this off. He's taking Josh Allen. This is a bounce back game for Buffalo. It was a one-off last week, and I'm trying to channel my inner Corey here, and Josh Allen's just going to dominate.
Carp taking the Bills too here.
Carp also has the Bills.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on this similar vein here. I think this is a bounce back week for Buffalo. The Jets. That game was crazy. That's one game that I actually got to watch, and I lost one fantasy league on that last field goal that Tyler Bass hit that doinked off the post. The audible dong.
The audible dong. Shout out to
audible
Rachel
dong.
Sports.
Shout out to Rachel Marie Sports. But yeah, the audible dong cost me a win last week, and I was pissed. But because it didn't even end up mattering. The Jets still won. But
walk-off. On a walk-off. Insane.
On a walk-off. But by a guy that was not even drafted.
Undrafted. He was the spotlight of Hard Knocks, though. I will say that. If you did not watch Hard Knocks and you saw that punt return, you're like, who the hell is Xavier Gibson? You're just Googling his name.
If you're watching Hard Knocks, he's running that ball back and you have chills the entire time.
Yeah, I was really excited.
Like, holy shit. I
was excited
watching He's going to do it.
I did not like this season of Hard Knocks, but I was excited to watch at least somebody who was notated in the show make an impact in the game. It was honestly, it's just beautiful. Like for me, like that's something that like you don't see a lot in the NFL, but you see it in baseball, and that's kind of like you got to see it in football, and it was just amazing to watch. Yeah, not a ton of walk-off punt return touchdowns and overtime
by an undrafted rookie.
Just in general, that's crazy. Yeah. That's a crazy. I would love to know how many times that's happened in the history of the NFL.
I would venture to say it's probably less than two.
I was going to say there's no way you can't count it on two hands at least.
Yeah,
so
I was thinking I thought single digits. Yeah,
maybe two, maybe three, but that's definitely one of them. But yeah, I got Buffalo. Bounce back week for them. The Raiders, I just really don't believe in Jimmy G all that much. I know that Josh Jacobs really had a pretty solid game last week, but there's no way that Josh Allen and the Bills don't rebound against the Raiders. The Jets are a good team this year. Even minus Aaron Rodgers, going out on the fourth play, I just don't see any way that they go into Buffalo and take this. I got the Bills. Todd.
It's happened 3 times in the history of the NFL, fellas.
Including that one?
Yeah, that was the 3rd time. First one was 1995 by a gentleman by the name of Tamarick Vanover for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Of course.
Bruce has the Raiders.
And then the last time before that was rookie Patrick Peterson did it in 2011.
Patrick Peterson, lo and behold, got his ass kicked after talking shit.
Oh, yeah, he got waxed. Oh, yeah, he got waxed.
Bad.
Brandon Ayuk made him look
He said he was going to have 2 picks, and he let up 2 touchdowns. That's a huge discrepancy.
Yeah, Brandon
Ayuk. That's an L, boys.
That's a huge L.
All right, so
Todd, Raiders going into Buffalo. Who you got?
Yeah, so I'm picking the Bills because I don't think this gets in a situation where Josh Allen has to play in a tough time. Seriously, I watched Josh Allen play in tough situations and fumble literally and figuratively over and over again.
he has the most fumbles to date from when he entered the league. From any player.
And you look at he also met. I learned this yesterday. He met Jordan Whitehead's interception incentive this year in one game.
Yeah,
congratulations to
Jordan Whitehead got 250 G's.
Yeah,
because Jordan Whitehead was only supposed to get 3 interceptions all year to hit this incentive, and he got him in 1
week. And you know what the thing is that 2 of those were just perfect, right in his hands. He didn't even really have to work hard for 2 of the 3 of them. Yeah, so I don't think this game gets into a scenario where Josh Allen has to work his way out, or a game gets too close where he has to, dig deep and get into it. I think Josh Allen just goes out there and cuts loose. I watched the Manning cast on Monday night, fellas, and if for those listening, if you're not watching the Manning cast, you're really missing. You're honestly missing out on watching football. It's a much better way, in my opinion, to watch the game, to listen to those guys and the people that they bring on and hear them dissect the game.
I agree with you, Todd, unless it's like your team. Like if it's Bengals versus whoever, I want, or Browns for me, or Steelers for Bobby.
Well, I think it's that you're watching the game differently, right? When you have skin in the game, you don't watch the Manning cast. If you want to,
but when you're a casual fan of it because you're like it's Monday night, it's football, I'm watching. I agree.
It's good. You learn a lot. You learn a lot about. I mean, just the way that they pick apart reads and stuff. I think it's good to understand how they view the game. But yeah,
I think they've kind of found their groove too.
Oh yeah,
I feel it was a little awkward to begin last year, but they've definitely
they. I think the week that they brought on Dan Campbell was the first time where they like really meshed, because Dan Campbell kind of cut them loose a little bit, and since then it seems like they had Ryan Fitzpatrick on there Monday night. It was great. Those guys had so much chemistry together. Fitzpatrick's obviously on TV too, but it was great. I don't see Buffalo being in a situation where they have to come from behind or anything. So I'm taking the Bills here.
Yeah, this is the NASDAQ, Dow Jones, S&P 500 market correction of the week, boys. The Raiders are 1-0. The Bills are 0-1. Let's flip them. It's Bills all day, guys. I'm actually impressed a little bit with what the Raiders did do on Sunday against Denver, in the sense of
I as well.
I think Garoppolo showed enough that he is exactly what you want out of like the 16th best quarterback in the league. I think that's kind of who he is. I think there was a lot to be made about the fact that they signed him and then had to kind of make an addendum about the physical. And I think that was kind of in everyone's mind. And now that we're kind of past that, and there was a moment in that game where it looked like Garoppolo was concussed. And that was a whole thing. So, but either way, I was impressed with the Raiders, but at the same time, I think the Bills are going to walk in with, frankly, they're going to be embarrassed. I think they're going to lay the smackdown just because of what happened to them on Monday. And don't forget too, they spent the entire week game planning for Aaron Rodgers. I know it sounds like it should be a lot easier just to be like, all right, well now it's Zach Wilson. It is weird for a team to, plan for that, and then it immediately goes away. Now, don't get me wrong, it's much harder for the Jets. So hats off to them for pulling that off. But I think I had the Bills at 10 wins this year. That's the under for them. But at the same time, I still think Josh Allen is just a walking 10-win team.
Yeah. No,
I would like to see him not act like every play is like it's for the Super Bowl. Like rushing for it on 3rd and 15.
Yeah, I mean, it would be
and fucking taking big hits like a dumb as a court. It fucking drives me insane to watch him get hit. Just don't do that.
Here's the thing with Josh Allen is Josh Allen. I think he's one of the few guys that has not really responded to the hype well, and what I mean by that is like, he is consistently hyped up as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he knows he's one of the best. And I think he constantly feels like he has to live up to that expectation where he always has to make the big play, like you had just mentioned. And if he would just relax and just play his game, he would live that out much easier than what he's trying to do. Like he's so talented, he doesn't need to try as hard as he thinks he does. And if he could just chill out and relax and just play football, I think he would be much better off.
Yeah, well, he's openly admitted one of his biggest character flaws is that he he gets overly confident and takes these big shots. He admits that about himself. He knows that's a judgment call in game that he makes that's wrong, but he's and Ryan Fitzpatrick even brought it up in the Manning cast. He talked to Josh Allen and he talked to and he was like I'm not gonna try to make these big plays like I have in years past. And literally within
that's exactly what he did.
He threw that 50-yard bomb right to Jordan Whitehead and the Bills' end zone. It's like,
yeah. It is interesting though, because that is what makes Josh Allen great, right? So you don't really want to have him take that away, but it truly is a double-edged sword.
He needs to learn how to control it. Like he needs to understand when he can take the shots and when he can't. And I think that's his biggest flaw, is just being able to understand when the moment is correct to take that chance.
Josh Allen 0-5 in overtime, including the playoffs.
Yep.
Wow. What a stat.
Yep.
All right. So first 3 games, we are all on the same page. No discrepancies. I'm interested to see what happens here, though. We've got a divisional game. We've got the Baltimore Ravens on the road in Cincinnati this weekend on Sunday at 1:00. Aaron, I'm going to let you lead this one off.
Sure.
Baltimore on the road in Cincinnati. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals here. I think what we saw last week, sure, a lot of it had to do with the weather. I think a lot of it also had to do with the fact that Joe Burrow didn't, have a preseason under his belt. Same thing in the way that we're talking about the Bills. I think the Bengals are going to come out and play inspired football just because of, frankly, how embarrassing it was for them this past week. As a Browns fan, this week basically went as perfectly as possible. You watch the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals all lose. Obviously, you never root for injury, but of course, with what happened with Rodgers, that probably makes the Jets a tougher chance of making the playoffs. And frankly, with the Steelers losing and Baltimore won, guys, but they did not look good against the Texans. That's a game that you come out and you destroy. And of course, it's really, really sad. And what happened with Dobbins, I think he is truly an elite talent that just can't stay healthy.
That's horrible.
And you see that every time he touches the football, it's electric. And then,
chat, I want you guys to all know that the first thing that happened when we all saw the J.K. Dobbins injury was there was immediately a text in the group chat, and we're all AFC North fans, and none of us are for the Ravens, and we're all like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
This guy is an unbelievable talent. Like you don't ever want to see, because we're all competitors. We've all played sports. We've all had that culture just instilled in us. And it's like, when you go against that team, you want their best. You want their best. You want to beat them at their highest level to know that you are the top dog. And when J.K. Dobbins isn't on that field for the Ravens, they're not the same team. And it's just like he just never caught a break. He has been injured every single season, and it's not small injuries.
Nope.
These are injuries that are season ending every year.
Fifth surgery in 4 years, fellas. Fifth surgery in 4 years for J.K. Dobbins.
It's just so sad to see. So this is a person. This is a human being. This is his livelihood, and he is just continually getting screwed. God, it just sucks to watch.
Yeah, it really is unfortunate. They still have a decent stable of running backs. I don't think it's going to necessarily contribute to the wins and loss column as much as, it might. I mean, it was very evident that Lamar Jackson really needs Mark Andrews out there. So if he's going to be out there, that's going to be a very different game. Zay Flowers looked really good.
He did.
The rookie. I believe he had 9 receptions or targets
cooking.
Or something like that. He was cooking. He was having a really good game. For the Bengals, though, this is. I don't want to say this is a must win, but if you're going to go 0-2 to start the season against the division, that's an icy hill to climb up. So I'll take the Bengals for that reason, just because of how important it really is for them, and I think they're the more talented team.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and do Corey's pick here. Corey's got Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's on a fucking mission this week. There's no question. The man had 82 passing yards. Todd said it earlier. This is his worst performance of his career. And he's not about to let 2 games pass. He's not about to let another game pass where he has another terrible performance
after that contract too. That would not be.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is embarrassed. Joe Burrow is embarrassed. And that is a bad thing for Baltimore, in my opinion. And I would assume Corey's opinion as well. The man's the highest paid player in the NFL, and he came out and had a shit week. It just is what it is. And Cincinnati, my pick also is Cincinnati. Cincinnati is going to fucking roll this week. Cincinnati's defense was very good against Cleveland last week.
They were very
good. As Aaron had stated, they were on the field way too long. And that is not going to be the case this week. They're at home. There's going to be a lot of energy coming out of Paycor, and Cincinnati is going to absolutely fuck the Ravens up.
Well, the defense was great. Frankly, the difference was Nick Chubb in that game, and Baltimore doesn't have that guy.
Yeah, Nick Chubb is amazing. I don't know how many years you have left with him at that level, but
keep giving him 18 carries a game. He hasn't slowed down.
He hasn't slowed down yet, and that's great for you guys.
And they've smartly been like, all right, well, let's just not give him 30 touches a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kareem Hunt not being in Cleveland anymore is a huge detriment to Nick Chubb's longevity.
Jerome Ford looked pretty good.
I think Jerome Ford played good too, though. That's the thing but they're a lot. Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt are different running backs, right? I mean, obviously Kareem Hunt is what he is. Jerome Ford is more of a.
He really is more like Chubb.
Yeah. So. I think that dynamic is interesting. What Jerome Ford did for Cleveland on Sunday is what he did 35 times a game for UC when he was at UC.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
he fights for every yard. He made one mistake on Sunday. He really did. That was a fumble, and that was it.
It's great to have that's what the NFL is today. It's a 1-2 punch in the backfield. Like there's no Adrian Petersons anymore. There's no Derrick Henrys.
And again, smartly,
that running game is gone.
And smartly, when you do it that way, Todd, you see it, and you've seen it, frankly, in a lot of, Browns Bengals games. He's so fresh in the fourth quarter. What are you going to do?
You're shit out of luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have Nick Chubb on a fresh set of legs in the fourth quarter, there is not a single team that can do shit about that. That man is unbelievable. But all right. So. Lo and behold, through the first 4 games, we are all square. It is a complete chalk.
Todd, we gotta give Todd here.
I gave no input in this game. I feel like I deserve at least 2 minutes.
Go ahead.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm going to go a little different direction here. I'm going to talk about the injuries that the Ravens have because I think that is the most pertinent thing for them to not win this game.
Can you show Carp's comment, by the way?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Carp saying he's going to say Bengals unbiased because without all the injuries on the Ravens, we'll win this game. So likely no Linderbaum, likely no Ronnie Stanley. So your center, your first-round pick center, and your all-pro tackle. Obviously, we talked about J.K. Dobbins. Marcus Peters out for arguably the rest of the year. He tore his pec muscle.
Mark Andrews playing this week?
I'm getting there.
Questionable, yeah.
Marlon Humphreys, questionable, has not practiced this week. Mark Andrews practiced all of last week in a limited form, did not play on Sunday, was limited today. So I think that's we'll call him a game time decision, right? And honestly, fellas, I think the thing that's going to be different for Cincinnati this week than versus what they saw against the Browns was that I think there's going to be more opportunities to get to Lamar Jackson than they had last week because even after Jack Conklin unfortunately got injured for the rest of the season, that game against Cincinnati, DeJuan Jones stepped in and played excellent. For a 4th-round pick, I believe he's one of the best values that we've seen so far in the league. He played very, very well. I don't think that Cincinnati's going to have as hard of a time getting to Lamar Jackson as they did as Deshaun Watson. I think they're going to let the offense will spend more time on the field than they did last week. There will be more points on the board from Cincinnati, so I'll keep it short. So I'm taking the Bengals. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy because it's an AFC North matchup, but I do think the Bengals come into Paycor and they right the ship.
Yeah, I mean they have to at this point if they want to continue the trajectory, the preseason trajectory that they have of being one of the best teams in the NFL. So I agree. All right, let's move on. We're gonna head up to the land of Corey James, and that is Detroit. We have the Detroit Lions taking on the Seattle Seahawks, who lost last week in a game that we didn't think, most of us didn't think they were going to win. So, Todd, we'll bounce it right back to you, brother. We got the Seattle Seahawks on the road in Detroit, taking on Jared Goff and the Lions. Who you got?
So I'm taking the Lions, and I'm taking them specifically because of what I saw defensively from them against KC. Obviously, there was no Travis Kelce on the field. There's a lot of that. No Travis Kelce. That's a big deal. I hear you. That secondary of Detroit, which was an absolute liability for them for the majority of last year.
They were phenomenal.
Complete 180. Cam Sutton, I feel sorry for you, Bob. Cam Sutton played outstanding. CJ played outstanding. Jack Campbell played good. Brian Branch with a pick six in that game, obviously off a deflected pass. Got
Kadarius Toney, complete liability.
But a fair amount of pressure on Mahomes, making him work to get the ball out of his hands. There were plays where he had 10 seconds. There were plays where he had 2 seconds. That's football. And I watched Detroit allow Jared Goff to not get sacked at all. And again, Kansas City fans will say, well, there's no Chris Jones. I hear you. But Jared Goff didn't get sacked. He had 3 pressures. Dude hasn't thrown a pick for over 200 passing attempts, I believe, now we're into. And things seem smooth in Detroit, fellas. And they're coming back home. And Ford Field's sold out. I mean, completely sold out. There's not even standing room only tickets right now for this game, boys. And you're paying a pretty penny if you want to get a reseller. So I think Ford Field's gonna rock, and I think it's gonna escalate what these guys are doing up north.
Absolutely, Carp. We need a definitive answer from you. That comment, Todd, if you want to put it up, is not a definitive comment. He says, "I want to say Lions because I secretly root for them. I think a lot of us do." But Seahawks are on a comeback game, so we need a definitive answer there. I mean, that's what it sounds like for me. Yeah. But I want a definitive answer there. Corey, rolling with the Lions. I have to agree. I really like this Detroit team this year. Jared Goff impressed me. Amon-Ra St. Brown, that man.
He's amazing.
He's a stud. He's a stud.
And Jared Goff, let's not sleep on Jared Goff. Jared Goff had a really nice game. He didn't get sacked. He handled the pocket pressure well, which there was some, but he made some really good throws in some really critical moments, and they were on point. They were just absolutely where they needed to be when they needed to be there. And Jared Goff, God, I hate to say it, but I think he is a top 15 quarterback in this league. And I think he really has the ability with this team. And let's not sleep on Jahmyr Gibbs, guys.
Got a good game.
Jahmyr Gibbs, if that man would not have slipped, would have had his first NFL touchdown. He would have had it. And every Jahmyr Gibbs owner was cringing at that moment where he busted it out right and then slipped. And then because I am one of those guys. And it was just really sad to see him not get in the end zone. But I think Jahmyr Gibbs gets in the end zone this week. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has a much larger role in this game. And I think the offense of the Lions just is unbelievably good. And let alone Aiden Hutchinson had an amazing game.
Had a great game.
Aiden Hutchinson off the edge.
He really did.
He is an unbelievable talent coming out of Michigan. And not a school that we all like. Carp's taking the Seahawks here.
Carp's taking the Seahawks.
I'm taking the Lions at home. I love Dan. I think we all love Dan Campbell here. We could call ourselves a Dan Campbell podcast if we wanted to, because we just all love him so much. But I'm taking the Lions at home here. Ron, who you got?
Yeah, guys. I mean, I think you all brought up some very interesting points. one of the things I wanted to touch on, and this is probably just the fantasy football culture in me, because I know we just kind of talked about Jahmyr Gibbs. There's a reason he wasn't the starter. There's a reason he wasn't getting the carries in that game. And one of the biggest plays to me that I saw, which ironically enough, Montgomery got a tripping penalty on Thursday Night Football, was because he came across the other side, gave up his entire body to protect his quarterback. Goff would have been murdered on that play.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy to look at this and go, oh my God, look at Gibbs's burst. David Montgomery, I think, is just a pro's pro at the running back. Running backs weren't getting paid this offseason. There's a reason the Lions brought him in. I still think you're going to continue to see a split backfield back there. Gibbs is, of course, the more explosive athlete. Montgomery's going to get the goal line carries, but he's also going to be out there in pass protection. And even so, I think Montgomery was still getting good, 4-yard carries in that game, which is going to be something that you want to see. I'm going to zag on this one a little bit. I'm going to ride with Carp here. I'm going to take the Seahawks, and part of the reason for it is there's this Lions game where a little bit long of a layoff, and I feel like they've had too much time to gas themselves up. I know they're coming home. I think the Lions fans, although they're very, very excited to win that game in Kansas City, it's a little bit different when it comes to your building and there's expectations on your door. I think the first sign of stress in that game, you're gonna feel that that fan base tighten up just a little bit, just because of what they've gone through as a fan base. I also think the Seahawks are a better team than what they played in week one. You're looking at a team that, really didn't move the ball on offense. They were down the whole game. Kenneth Walker getting 5.3 yards a carry, only on 12 carries. Well, yeah, they were down the whole game. I think we're going to have a different game plan here. Also, I was pretty high on the fact that the Lions were going to have an excellent offense this year. Guys, they put 14 points up on the board on Thursday. That one touchdown they got on defense was put right in their lap, literally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Mahomes could have put that ball any better in Tony's hands before it got flicked off and ran for 6 there. So this isn't a knock against the Lions. It's more so long-term wise for the season. I'm still not ready to give up on the Seahawks after week one. Again, this is just a little bit of a market correction for me. So I'm going to zag on this one. We'll finally go against the chalk here, and I'm going to take the Seahawks.
Nice. So, Carp, if you want us to write your picks down, we need you to pick the Green Bay on the road in Atlanta. And then I assumed you were taking the Eagles against Philly. So
I'm sorry, Bobby, I couldn't see what you were showing me there.
I was showing Carp that I was writing.
I got you.
Google Doc. But yeah, Carp, we need you to pick the Minnesota at Philly and Green Bay at Atlanta, and then we'll be caught up. All right, so we have a lone wolf at this point. At least
worked out okay last week. Let's keep it rolling.
We got Aaron taking the Seahawks against Detroit. First one of the day. I don't think there's going to be a lone wolf in this next game though, especially from you, Aaron. We've got the Los Angeles Chargers. Did you guys catch what I did there? I didn't make the mistake.
I'm so proud of you.
Proud of you.
Score for Bob. Ryan said Philly and Green Bay, so he's with the grain on that. So all right, you're caught up. We've got the Los Angeles Chargers on the road in Tennessee against Ryan Tannehill. Hey, Aaron, I will bounce it back to you. Chargers on the road against the Titans.
Tannehill looked bad, guys. He looked really bad. Tennessee actually, I picked them last week, and part of the reason I did was I thought it was a very close matchup, and I think that actually showed up on Sunday. I think the Saints kind of squeaked away a win there when Tennessee did everything they could to say, "Here, please take this from us." I think the Chargers lost. It's easy to go, we're talking about Herbert here. When's he going to win these games? Herbert's had 13 fourth quarter comebacks and wins. So this idea that he's not clutch to me, I think, is a little bit crazy. That offense would have won against any other team in the league last week that wasn't the Dolphins.
Yep.
They looked really, really good. It kind of sucks for that team that you don't ever get a home game, and that was very, very evident on Sunday, where Dolphins Nation showed out hard in SoFi Stadium. But for a game like this here, they're on the road, but what's the difference here for the Chargers, right? I think this is a get right game for the Chargers here. That offense was cooking last week. Let's see what's going on with Eckler, but I really liked what I saw out of Josh Kelly. The receivers were showing up in a big way for Los Angeles, and again, this team I think would have beaten about almost any other team, especially in the AFC last week. That wasn't the Dolphins. The Dolphins offense just showed out in a big way, boys. But I'm going to take the Chargers here. They're just a much better team.
Carp going against the grain here and taking Tennessee. Please elaborate on why. Todd, give us your pick.
Yeah, I don't expect Tennessee to throw for about 500 yards and then run for another 70. I just don't expect that to happen. I don't expect Derrick Henry to. What I saw out of the Chargers defense is the same thing that we've seen since Brandon Staley's been the head coach for the Chargers. And I'm saying that specifically because he's calling the defensive plays. A lot of miscues, a lot of man coverage where there shouldn't be man coverage, and then a lot of times where the best player on the field's open and they shouldn't be. But I do agree with Aaron. I think Justin Herbert played very well on Sunday. I don't think that the 0-1 record reflects on his performance at all in that game.
Yeah,
I was a little disappointed to not see him throwing the ball into the end zone more. But we already have an injury on the Chargers, fellas, Mike Williams, right? So we already have one of those wide receivers out for LA, and obviously they drafted Quentin Johnson in the first round to kind of fill that void for Mike Williams while he's injured. But yeah, I don't see Tennessee stopping that Chargers offense. Aaron, I do want to follow up, and I agree with you that New Orleans wanted to hand Tennessee the game, and then the officiating in that game took the game away from Tennessee as well. Called 2 plays off where Kelvin Byard had a fumble return for a touchdown, called the play off well before the play was done. And then there was another penalty mixed into that game where Tennessee had a turnover, gets the ball back. And then they called that play off.
I didn't get to see that specifically. I had Red Zone on and trying to watch everything we could, but of course we were hosting for the Browns opener. So
right,
between that and having that on the big screen, that's taken a lot of your attention. But yeah. One thing I will say, even going back to the Thursday night game, and I know everyone talked about the blatant offensive line play where, let's face it, those are all false starts, or I know.
All illegal
in general, I didn't hate the officiating, guys. And I almost feel like that's a bold take because it's so easy to just be like, I hate the officiating. There were so many plays where like quarterbacks were getting hit in like split seconds where I'm so used to seeing a flag. And I'm so glad they kept it in their pocket. That's the kind of football that I want to see. And I think football is a very, very hard game to officiate. And I will go out on a limb here and give a tip of the cap to the officiating and hope it stays the same.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. That's really that was my only thing from just watching those highlights, because I'm just interested in watching the Titans. I don't have any good explanation behind it, but I think we watched. I mean, you watched the Browns and Bengals game too. I think the officiating in that game was very good overall. Didn't really see too many. You can call holding every time. You can call roughing the passer on any time a quarterback gets taken down. But the illegal formation thing in the Chiefs game, I hear you that it's the first week of the season, but like that, it was so blatantly obvious that he was lined up off the ball and moving before the snap that it drove me nuts. I could not focus on anything in that game when the Chiefs had the ball other than watching Juwan Taylor line up for pass protection. It drove me insane.
They called it in the most important play of the game, at least.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things that's like, it's very hard in the middle of the game because like those refs aren't on Twitter or they're not on social media. They're not listening to the commentary of the game.
Sure.
Like, that's something that they clearly missed. And you could tell by the time Sunday rolled around that they weren't anymore.
Yep.
I don't think that's the one thing I was saying in our group chat was, I hear you guys on this one, but I guarantee you this is cleaned up by next week.
Sure.
Yeah. No, so Carp's going against the grain and also with a hot take. He's going with Tennessee. Henry goes for over 100. This may be the game that makes the difference in the picks that helps me win. So
or lose.
Carp, bold take. No, I think I really liked what I saw out of the Chargers offense last week, and I think a lot of that is due to Kellen Moore. And I think a Kellen Moore-led offense with Justin Herbert at the helm, I think this is a recipe for success. I think week 1 was not the greatest show of it, but I think we're going to see a lot of that this week against the Tennessee Titans. And even though the Chargers are on the road, I don't really see this as a game that they lose. I don't like in my mind. This is a lock for me. Like I think the Chargers win this week, no question. So I'm going with the Chargers on the road to Tennessee. I just don't think that Ryan Tannehill has it. So we always discuss. Our big thing is which quarterback do we believe in more, and I believe more in Justin Herbert than I do in Ryan Tannehill. And the weapons that Ryan Tannehill has. So, also RIP to the other Mike Williams, Tampa Bay. He was recently removed from not removed from the league, but just not in the league anymore and working on a construction site. And he got hit in he got hit in the head with a steel beam and was in ICU, and he recently passed away. So there were some positive notes that he had pulled through the initial and gotten out of the ICU, and now he's no longer here. So, to his friends and family, condolences. That's just terrible. But, let's move on here. Rob, if you're still in here, this one's for you. We've got the Chicago Bears headed south to the land of Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield.
I got to see that stadium today flying in.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
nice.
that's cool.
Raymond James.
Yeah.
Raymond James Stadium down in Tampa Bay. Which one of you guys wants to lead this off?
I think you should.
I'll take it. Or Bobby, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Bobby should.
I will lead this off.
Bruce and Carp
both came in hot with the Bears.
Quick Bears. Quick Bears.
So this is one of those games for me this week that I believe is a coin flip.
We'll go ahead and do that real quick, and we'll get your pick.
Okay, hold on.
Let fate decide.
Hold my beer. So I was not upset with what I saw out of. I mean, I guess I was kind of a little upset with what I saw out of the Bears last week, considering I picked them, but. Baker Mayfield didn't look terrible.
Yeah, but the Vikings defense is pretty bad.
Yeah,
they are, but they didn't look terrible.
No, I agree.
So I have a 50-cent piece here.
Wow,
this is my coin flip.
That's a true flipper.
Tails,
that
heads.
Coin flips,
I believe heads is JFK. So
yeah.
I'll let you guys call it. What's heads? What's tails?
I think heads should be Bears. Their logo is the bear head.
Okay.
Tails is Buccaneers.
Coin flip. We're gonna leave this one to fate, chat.
Let's do it.
I got the Bears.
He's got the Bears.
I
love it. Now, do you have any analysis for that, or is it pure fate?
Pure fate. Pure fate this week. I'm riding the Bears train. I think Justin Fields has a bounce back week. I think DJ Moore goes for over 7 catches and 100 yards. And I think
that's bold. I like it. I'm on the Bears as well.
We're split.
I'm not a big Tampa guy. I think they got their win last week. Again, for the Bears, I think the Packers are just pose a bad matchup for them, and I think the Bears are going to leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth coming into this week. I think you're going to see a lot of this week where, teams that are, you're going to have a lot of 1-1 teams, right? So some teams that went 1-0, of course, are going to be 1-1, and some 0-1 teams are going to be 1-1. I think this is a perfect example of it. I think we had the same thing with the Raiders Bills. This is a market correction pick for me. I'm going to take the Bears. And I think it still can be close. The one thing I will say, and Bobby, you mentioned there with Baker, he's not the worst guy in the league by any means. I just think he's got too much dip on his chip on his shoulder. You know what I mean? Like he's just
dip on his chip. I love that.
he's just it's too much, and he's got a great stable of receivers there.
Bruce, you like right? You like Baker Mayfield? I just want to confirm that that's what you mean.
So maybe I don't personally, but I also will eat a little bit of crow in last week that you're right, Bobby. He did look really, really good.
He did look pretty good last week.
I think Justin Fields is gonna I think Justin Fields
it's a rebound week for Fields.
Yeah,
I honestly do.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know that it's necessarily going to come in the fact that DJ Moore is going to have the game line that you did or that you had said, but I think Fields is going to be able to run around the field in this one. No pun intended, but I'll take the Bears here.
Todd,
fellas, I'm just disagreeing with you here. I watched.
That's what we're here for, baby.
And I brought it up earlier in this podcast, and I'm running right back to my point that I made about them against Green Bay. The play calling offensively for the Bears was horrendous. And I think you match up what the Packers defense is versus what Tampa Bay's defense is. And there's not a ton of differences between the two overall ratings of the defenses, if you will. Right now, obviously, we're talking about Jordan Love that had a great week. And, we talked about Baker Mayfield having a good week too. I think a lot of this comes down to, I just think the Bears don't call a good game and they don't set themselves up to win. Where we watched the 3 games that they won last year, it was Justin Fields throwing for 250 and running for 100. I don't think he's going to run for 100 against this Tampa Bay defense. Now he could throw for 215 like he did last week against Green Bay, but I think the play calling there sucks. And I think that there's still time to develop some chemistry there in Chicago. And I chalk up the loss to those two things. You go talent to talent, roster for roster. That's a much better quarterback. I think the running game's better in Chicago. I think the passing game can be. Obviously, there's no Mike Evans or Chris Godwin over there in Chicago at this point. But, I think play calling's bad, and that's what's going to lose them this game. So I'm taking Tampa Bay.
Okay, fair enough. Just to read off Corey's picks, I don't know if we've done that over the last couple. Corey took Detroit. Corey took the Chargers. And he's also on Todd's side here and taking Tampa Bay. So we are split down the middle for this last game. Aaron and I have Chicago. Corey and Todd have Tampa Bay. And Carp, who is now on this list, he also took Chicago. So if anybody wants to join this list, please let us know.
Play along with us, man.
We'll add you to it. All right. This is also the next game. I think we're going to potentially be split. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs on the road in Jacksonville. This is a game where one of these teams played. I guess both of these teams really didn't play up to the expectation that we all thought they were going to play up to last week. Jacksonville had a much closer game than we all anticipated against Indianapolis next week. And then KC fell short against the Lions. So, Aaron, Kansas City on the road in Jacksonville. Who you got?
Yeah, you're right, man. This is one of those ones that I think can go either way. I mean, you take it back to the playoffs last year where the Jaguars were this close to beating the Chiefs. And I think, this is there's certainly an argument to be made that this could be a revenge game for them to come back and say, we're here now. We're in the, we're going to be in the AFC mix. You take a look at, all of the quarterbacks that were in, the Final Four last year. Lawrence is the only one who got a win last week, which is kind of surprising to say. He really, really likes Calvin Ridley, maybe to a fault. It seemed like he was, almost trying to force the ball to him, which is great. I'm really happy to see Calvin Ridley back in the league. Not only back in the league, but playing to the ability that we know that he can. Shout out to Calvin there. If there is
Ridley's bookie over here is really excited.
Yeah. If there was a team that could start 0-2 and not be the end of the world, it would be the Chiefs. But with that being said, I'm still going to take them here. I think, of course, with the extra week, I can read off all of the stats of Andy Reid on a long week. I'm going to take that every single time, guys. I'm going to take that every single time. So I'm going to take the Chiefs here. I think this will be potentially probably the game, especially being that my team doesn't play until Monday night. This is probably going to be the one for the 1:00 games that, I'm going to be all eyeballs on. But I'll take the Chiefs here, but barely. And for me, Bobby, I could take that 50-cent piece and flip it all the same on this one as well.
Fair enough. Pop's coming with a comment saying Bears win, Detroit wins. Bold take. Detroit
Big
at
AFC
home,
North guy or NFC North guy.
Bears on the road. So, yeah, I mean, as long as you got the Packers and the Vikings, then you're all set with the NFC North there. So, Todd, KC on the road, Jacksonville.
Fellas, I'm taking the boys in Duval here. I'm taking the Jags in this game. I think
I love it. I love that there's going to be some discrepancy in this game.
You know what? I think the big thing, and Aaron said it here, is there's two teams this week that could start 0-2, and I think red flags don't immediately fly up, and it's Kansas City and the Bengals. Those are the two teams where if they go 0-2, people don't just write them off or start questioning head coaching or start questioning the quarterback position. I could go on and on. Guys, watching Kansas City's defense, if you weren't listening to Chris Collinsworth, they weren't overly impressive. Now, I heard Chris Collinsworth compare Nick Bolton to Fred Warner in that game, and I threw up in my mouth when he said that. That's
fallen off a little bit.
That's a pretty ridiculous comparison, and that was only after he ran over a running back protecting his quarterback and still did not get a sack. Not super bought into that. Not overly bought into Kansas City secondary. I mean, I watched them have several breakdowns in coverage that led to big plays, and then I watched them really struggle stopping the running game. We talked about Jahmyr Gibbs slipping and falling away from a touchdown, but David Montgomery had 80 yards on the ground and didn't have to work super hard for really the majority of those yards. He walked into the end zone for one of those two offensive touchdowns that Aaron alluded to earlier. I think Jacksonville has a very similar dynamic in that backfield with ETN and Tank Bigsby, guys. And it's a younger dynamic, but I think that there's something in that mix that the NFL is going to have to watch their back on for at least until Tank Bigsby's initial rookie contract is up. And we only saw Christian Kirk get 5 or 6 targets in that game on Sunday. And again, Aaron said, and I agree with you, it felt like he was trying to feed the ball specifically to Ridley, but Zay Jones had a big game too, fellas. And Evan Ingram's still healthy. And I think that –
and Christian Kirk's still there. He just didn't really play a lot.
That's what I'm saying. He just didn't get a lot of targets. So I see that changing this week with Trevor Lawrence. I see him being able to move the ball. I think Kansas City will force him to move the ball around a little bit more, but I see them capitalizing because really, if you guys remember that KC Jacksonville game in the playoffs, it was 2 drives. 2 drives cost Jacksonville the game.
Quick hit here with you, Todd. Chris Jones coming back. Is that going to be a factor at all?
You know what? I think there is something to that, right? I mean, you're talking about the second best interior defensive lineman in the league, and they paid him to be that. But I mean, I don't. Obviously it impacts the game, but I don't think it impacts Jacksonville not winning the game.
It doesn't impact the final.
So, no, I don't think so. I think Jacksonville takes this game at home, starts off 2-0, and gets more people bought into what they're doing down there.
Love it.
Fair enough. So Corey is riding the same train that I'm going to be riding here, and that is the Kansas City train. And my sole reasoning for this is that the biggest piece of the Kansas City Chiefs was not on the field last week.
Exactly.
And it's not Patrick Mahomes.
It's
Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce with Taylor Swift in his back pocket.
They do hang out.
Apparently, they do. They made friendship bracelets and everything. But Pop's coming with a hilarious comment. Always turn off the audio with Collinsworth.
Always.
Might just leave that up for the rest of the show.
I mean, that's just one of the best comments I've seen. But no, I mean, Travis Kelce is the biggest offensive weapon that the Kansas City Chiefs have had ever, in my opinion. Like, Travis Kelce is a game breaker. He's a game changer. And without him on the field, it is clearly obvious that they are not able to move the ball well at all. Kadarius Toney, complete liability. I obviously coming over from the Giants, but Travis Kelce will be on the field this week. And the Kansas City Chiefs will be 1-1.
Whoa.
So
Rob coming in here saying
no one is as bad as Joe Buck.
Whoa.
I love Joe Buck.
I hear it. I think that there's a lot of hate for Joe Buck out there that's justified. He changed his career a lot in the last like 12 to 15 years, but
I get that.
He's hard. He is. I hear it. I could hear people say that.
I understand it, but like, I think Joe Buck is one of the better announcers out there. This isn't the conversation that we're having right now, but I like Joe Buck. Anyways, yeah, Travis Kelce, complete game changer. He will be on the field this week. The Kansas City Chiefs will beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in a close one. I'm not saying this is going to be a blowout by any means. The Jacksonville Jaguars are extremely talented. Jacksonville Jaguars will be a playoff team this year, no question about it. But I just don't see the Chiefs going 0-2 to start the season. I refuse to believe that. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, they will get on the same page very quickly, and they will rebound against the Chiefs. I have Kansas or rebound against the Chiefs. Rebound against the Jags. I've got the Chiefs. All right. Now to a game that is a complete coin flip. We've got the Indianapolis Colts headed south to face a divisional rival in the Houston Texans. No one is perfect, Bobby. I'm glad I found your flaw. Thanks, Rob. Love you too. We've got the Colts headed south to face the Texans in Houston. Todd, Texans at home against the Chiefs or Colts. Who you got?
I got the Texans here, fellas, because I think what Anthony Richardson did in Week 1 was an anomaly.
Ooh, interesting.
Ooh, so, okay. Elaborate.
I think it's really hard to prepare for that dynamic of an athlete in their first game, and I think it appeared to me watching that game that Jacksonville prepared for him to run way more than he did, and he had plenty of time to throw the ball. I think that was the big thing that I saw was that Colts offensive line it was much better than it was for Matt Ryan early on last year. I just don't see him having that much success week over week. I don't see him completing 60% of his passes every week because statistically that's not him. That's not Anthony Richardson. He's never been a 60% completing passer. He's a 52% completing passer in his career. So I see things falling back to that. Him coming back to reality. I love a good rookie versus rookie head coaching matchup, especially when it's two opposite sides of the ball of rookie head coaching matchups.
Coach and quarterback.
Yeah. So I think CJ Stroud played well overall against the Ravens. It's unfortunate that he didn't get the ball in the end zone. I think that changes pretty quickly in this game this week for Houston. Still like Dameon Pierce. If you're not talking about Nico Collins yet, make sure you're at least hovering over him if he's available in a fantasy league for you. I think that he's going to be the target guy for CJ Stroud. And I said it when we did our projections for the AFC. I think CJ Stroud's a better rookie quarterback than Anthony Richardson. Someone's going to have to come in third and fourth. I just think the Texans come in third in the AFC South.
All right, fair enough. Aaron.
Yeah, I think this is again a very, very interesting one, and we just talked about it, right? Yeah, it's not just rookie quarterback; it's rookie head coach. I thought Richardson played admirably last week. Of course, there was the injury in it. I actually thought both of those two rookie quarterbacks played pretty well. I'm going to take the Texans here solely because they're playing at home. If this game was in Indianapolis, I might have changed my tune here. This game has 3 points written all over it. In terms of yes. the win margin. Yes. And Todd, I agree with you. I thought Stroud played pretty well. You know, he protected the ball. I believe he was 28 of 44, something like that. It wasn't a, it would have been great for him to get in the end zone. And hey, shout out to my boy Bobby Trees, Robert Woods down back the clock with 6 receptions as well. Let's not forget that he still has a pulse out there. Nico Collins, of course, I agree with you, is really good. Paris Campbell played really well for the Colts. I think the Colts still have
Michael Pittman.
Yeah, or Pittman. I'm sorry, is who I meant to say. But I think this one can really go either way. I'll give the edge to the home team. I don't feel great about it. But here's the thing: if I pick the Colts, I wouldn't feel good about that either. And that's the definition of a coin flip, right, boys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Believe so.
Yeah. So Carp has the Colts. Corey has the Colts. Reasoning undefined. As these were just straight picks from Corey.
That's just that's a Gator pick. That's a Gator pick.
I'm also gonna roll with the Colts. In my basis on this is that I believe that the Colts played a much better team than Houston played last week, and in the fact that I think Jacksonville is way better than Baltimore. And
really,
and I think Indy played Jacksonville very well. And I think this is going to be a comparable matchup, but I think this is also a matchup that Indy can win, even minus Jonathan Taylor. If Jonathan Taylor is on the field, I think a lot of us are changing our tune and picking Indy. But at the end of the day, I think Michael Pittman Jr. will be the difference in this game. I know that he had a great game last week. I think he's going to eat against the secondary of the Texans and just absolutely have a ball game. So. I am taking the Colts here. Split decision here for all of us here. We've got me and Corey with Indy, Todd and Aaron with Houston, and Carp, the fifth man in the rotation on the picks, taking Indy. So Indy 3-2.
Shout out Deion Jackson with his 13 attempts for 14 yards last week. Good job, bud.
Absolutely.
I thought this was a Bills stat line because Anthony Richardson was the leading rusher for the Colts last week. So I thought
I think that will be a theme. I believe that will be a theme if
I agree.
If Mr. Taylor isn't going to be playing.
Absolutely. All right. We're gonna not spend a ton of time on the next game because I think it's going to be pretty
4:00, baby.
Pretty straightforward. We're on to the 4:00 games, ladies and gentlemen. We got the San Francisco 49ers headed out to LA to take on the Rams. I'll lead off. 49ers are the second best team in the NFC. Rams get destroyed. Niners. Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the night. That defense looked, if it wasn't for that,
just ridiculous.
Wasn't for that Cowboys game, it would just be a no doubter of, hey, who's the best defense in the league? I still might give the edge to the 49ers there as well. This one's a quick and easy one for me. Hey, shout out to the Rams for beating Seattle last week, but that might be the highlight
nice job last week.
Yep. This I'm glad they beat somebody in their division. I don't see it happening 2 weeks in a row. I am interested to see when Brock Purdy slows down, though.
Is he good? Is he just good?
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm saying if he throws for like another 225 and a couple tutties again, I got to start changing my perspective on him. I really do. Because
when has he played bad?
He is the most consistent rookie from last year that we've seen, fellas.
Undefeated in the regular season, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, it's very it's one of the more interesting stories in the NFL is Brock Purdy, because he just screams time management and consistency, and I think there's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that have more service time than him that could take notes from him managing a game.
What if he's just Golden Boy Cousins?
Yeah, could be. Who knows? We haven't. Like I said, I need to see him have a bad game before anything happens. San Francisco and the Rams. That's where we're at.
We already got your pick because you're taking.
You're taking San Francisco. So we're gonna move on to the next one here shortly.
Yeah, it's the wheels fall off, right? They have to eventually.
If you take the Rams here, Carp, you're banned.
But here's the thing, Todd. Are they going to fall? Maybe he gets a flat tire at some point, but AAA is going to come right along and they're going to be on their way.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think this is I have seen enough now. Now, granted, he still hasn't played 16 games. That's a good barometer. But if there's anybody that can squeeze talent out of the quarterback position, it's Shanahan. And boy, thank God they got Brock Purdy to cover up the warts of what they gave up for Lance.
Yeah.
Facts. Absolute facts. All right, let's move on. We've got the Brian Daboll-led New York Giants, who got absolutely fucking embarrassed last week. Embarrassed. Dallas just rolled. The New York Giants are on the road in Arizona against the Cardinals. Hey, Ron, who you got?
Dude, we were talking about market corrections, right? This is the short squeeze. I am on the Giants hard this week. I'd pick them up in fantasy, take their defense. The Cardinals are going to be the team that you just constantly want to bet against all year. I actually thought they played pretty admirably against the Commanders, but keep in mind, I mean, Sam Howell that was his second career start, although he wasn't technically a rookie. That was basically like playing a rookie again. You can actually argue that Josh Dobbs had more NFL experience going into that game. So for the fact that the Cardinals, played pretty well against the Commanders wasn't super surprising. I think the Commanders have a good defense, and that's why I picked them in that game, and I'm glad that they held on. But it's just a easy straight. I'll take my chances against the Cardinals all year, and maybe I get 3 wrong.
Yeah, I'm not going to go against the grain here, man. Giants rebound.
Giants are going to be pissed too. They're going to be
they're the better team. They got absolutely fucking embarrassed last week. Daniel Jones was running for his life. He had an average of 1.43 seconds to throw the ball last week.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody 7 times, right?
I don't know if anybody of you know math, but 1.43 seconds is a fucking quick amount of time to even just snap the ball and get a read, let alone make a pass. Like,
I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with math.
Like, the man literally had 0 time. Like, the Cowboys were in the backfield before he even had time to think.
Yep.
Like, that's not going to happen this week. It's not going to happen this week at all. The Cardinals defense is garbage. Giants are going to roll.
Yeah,
Giants are going to roll this week.
Carp coming in asking if Dobbs is still going to start next week. He's the starter until noted otherwise. That was Gannon's quote last Friday going into week 1 was that Dobbs is their guy. There was a reason why they acquired him in a trade, and he's going to be their guy. Obviously, their backup now is a 4th or 5th round, the quarterback from the University of Houston. That's their other option. So if Carp says I mean, I'm not going to put up what Carp just said, but I said before we made our picks last week, I will not pick the Cardinals one time this year.
So Carp, I'm going to read this in 2 inflections. Is that like fuck? Like cards all
where's
day?
The I was going to say
cards all day.
Fuck, comma, cards all day. That's what he said. He's saying
where's the comma?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it fuck cards, comma, all day or fuck cards all day?
Yeah. So I'm taking the Giants, and that's the easiest pick of the week.
Okay. Well, let's move on to one of the more difficult picks of the week, at least in my opinion. We've got the New York Football Jets.
Oh, Carp is taking the card.
Oh,
wow! Wow.
Okay, prove us wrong.
Throw that Tennessee pick away. That's going to make the difference. It's this one.
Prove us wrong. Yeah. We got the Jets on the road in Dallas. This is going to be an excellent football game to watch. This is going to be the game at 4:00 that it will be on my television. I'm super excited for this game. Todd, who do you have?
Buddy, I don't think this is going to be as exciting as you're saying. I'm taking the Cowboys, and I think it's an easy roll. Oh, so let's call it what it is. Wow. Aaron Rodgers got hurt in 4 plays, and every time he dropped back to pass, he had no time. So we just talked about Daniel Jones had 1.43 seconds to get the ball out. The Jets' offensive line is not much better than the Giants' offensive line, and I think you could argue that it could even be a little bit worse. Zach Wilson coming into the game did not get sacked as many times because he's mobile. But the Cowboys' secondary isn't bad either. And I think this is a game where the Cowboys I see them scoring early and fast again because the Jets defense is going to be on the field so often and so many times. And I think that I'm not excited for this game. I'm sorry, I'm not. I think that this is an easy win for Dallas. I think my perspective of the Jets changes entirely if Zach Wilson's going to continue being the starting quarterback for the Jets. I said that they could win the AFC East. I think now they could be last in the AFC East. You can have a great defense and not not have a winning record, right? We saw that with the Broncos and the Colts last year. They both had losing records, and they both had top 10 defenses. The Jets are a top 7 defense, but boy, Zach Wilson is bad. He's bad, and I don't care how many weapons you have offensively. It ain't gonna matter. Buffalo's not gonna lose to him again. So I'm taking the Cowboys, and I think this is probably one of the easier wins for the Cowboys this year.
Aaron.
Yeah, Todd, I mean, you kind of took a lot of the points that I wanted to make there when it comes to the offensive line. That offensive line, and I was saying it from the beginning of the year, like, they're bad. They are bad. That's going to be the downfall of the Jets, and I didn't think it was going to happen in 4 plays, but it certainly played out that way. The Cowboys defense showed up and showed out. What I saw from the Jets on Monday night was the adrenaline rush, right? It was this person who broke their leg but still somehow managed to get to the finish line. Now sit them down for a second and see if they can run that marathon again. They can't because they don't have the adrenaline to get up for it now. And now that the Jets have to start the complete week over with Zach Wilson taking all the first team reps, it's going to be a little bit different. I think the Jets have an insane amount of talent across the board, at all different levels. Shout out to Breece Hall, the way he played, and even Dalvin Cook played really well too. That touchdown that Garrett Wilson had was just phenomenal. And of course the special teams play that we saw out of the Jets as well. Guys, this Cowboys defense is going to be a fucking problem. Micah Parsons is, I'm biased towards Myles Garrett for sure. Bobby, I know you're, biased towards TJ Watt for sure. I think Micah Parsons is going to be your defensive player of the year. Didn't he get it last year too?
Yes.
So he looked just different out there. And granted, the first team defense didn't even really have to play the full game. They're going to be fully rested coming into this one. I just don't see how that Jets offensive line can keep the pressure away. The only chance that the Jets have in this game is the fact that their defense is also very, very good. And I don't think Dak Prescott is necessarily great by any means. But if you're going to give me the choice between Dak Prescott and Zach Wilson on a full week, I'm sorry, I'm taking Dak here, and I'm taking that Cowboys defense.
Sorry, guys. I was just trying to hype this game up as the moderator.
It's okay.
And hope that there was a hot take somewhere. Look,
Zach Wilson on the field creates no hot takes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I completely agree with you guys. I mean, if the Dallas defense can do what they did to Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson's in a world of hurt. It's going to be a long week for the New York fans. It's going to be a long season at this point for them. They lost all hope when Aaron Rodgers popped his Achilles. And
I feel so bad for Jets fans,
dude,
to be honest.
Sucks. It sucks.
I mean, that's just if you want to just feel bad for somebody, just feel bad for somebody that lives in New York and is a Jets fan or a Mets fan. Like either way you look at it, either way you cut the cloth. Like it's just bad.
Rough week for New York.
Tough,
even with
the
Jets
week.
win.
And, I mean, there's a lot to be said there, but at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. I mean, even though TJ Watt had 3 sacks last week, the Steelers still got absolutely shellacked.
Yeah, I say, but it was they weren't as meaningful, and it's not like it contributed.
They were not
to
meaningful sacks, even though he tied the franchise sack record that was held by James Harrison. Like it meant nothing because they got beat by almost 30 points. Like Micah Parsons is that guy. He is him. He is that dude. Micah Parsons is unfucking believable, and this Dallas defense is legit. And Aaron, like you said, they're going to be an absolute problem this year. I don't see this game being a problem in any way, shape, or form for Dallas. Dak Prescott, at this point in his career, I still believe is better than even if Aaron Rodgers was on the field. I would still take Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is more mobile. I know he's had some issues with his turnover handling, but at the end of the day, Dak Prescott is going to make a play in a better fashion than I think Aaron Rodgers could. So I got Dallas here all day, no questions, as we all do, all 5 of us. If anybody wants to join in on the picks, please continue to throw them in the chat. Next game on the board. Now this game could potentially be a coin flip, considering last week. We got the Washington Commanders, who may have a new name next year. Who knows? On the road at Denver, taking on the Sean Payton and Russell Wilson-led Broncos. Aaron, who you got?
Man, it was pretty easy to just fade Russell Wilson last year, right? I thought the addition of Sean Payton was gonna, maybe be a little bit of a spark here. But the one thing I will say is Sean Payton didn't come to Denver to coach Russell Wilson. He came to coach the Denver Broncos, and quite frankly, I think we might be seeing Stidham before people realize. I think Russell Wilson is not. It's not let Russ cook. It's Russ is cooked. I'm going to take Washington here, guys. I think their defense is phenomenal. I think the Broncos they don't have the firepower on offense right now to really just put games away by any means. Of course, they're down some receivers. Even guy that people were pretty excited about, like Mims, for instance. He didn't really show up or anything like that.
Marvin Mims didn't do shit.
Sean Payton put the writing on the wall at the beginning of the year when he basically already started blaming the former regime, and he basically made it seem like this isn't the year, it's next year. That's where we're going to be competing. I'm not saying that the Broncos are going to lose this game by any means. This certainly isn't something I'm going to bet on or something I'm super confident in. This one's kind of a vibes pick here where I don't trust anything coming out of Denver right now. And it's not that I'm saying I trust Washington, but I think their defense is competitive enough to keep this game close. And I'll take the upset here. I'll take the upset pick, hoping to hopefully get a game if nobody's going to agree with me. But I'll take the Commanders here.
So I want to start with Corey's last two picks. Corey's got the Giants. Corey's got the Dallas Cowboys. There's no notes, so I just want to make sure that I'm throwing these in there if we're just kind of feeling like we're skipping them. But Corey, I'm on the same vein as you, man. The Broncos are bad. They're a bad football team.
Corey's got the Commanders?
No, Corey has the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
I have the Washington Commanders. I think Denver is a terrible football team. I think you made a great point. The writing's on the wall. Sean Payton doesn't even believe in the team that he's coaching right now. He needs a year under his belt to get a hold of this team. Commanders start 2-0. Washington comes in and absolutely just dominates on the defensive side of the football. This game is going to be 7 points plus.
Wow. Okay. I'm not that confident.
I'm confident. I'm confident in this pick.
Damn.
Todd.
So I will add to your Russell Wilson fire here, fellas, that he had 177 yards passing. His leading receiver last week was Samaje Perine.
Against a worse defense.
With 37 yards. His longest completed pass in the air, Russell Wilson, last week was 13 yards. So that is, I'm not including yards after catch. I'm just saying the furthest pass that he completed was 13 yards against the Raiders.
That's tough.
We talked about having just being an overall not so good team, right? I'm taking the Broncos for the sole reason that they're at home, and I said that I would take the Commanders one time this year, and it was last week. I'm just sticking to my word, fellas. I'm not doing it for any reason other than that. I'm just sticking to my word. I don't think either of you have said anything that I don't disagree with about the Broncos.
If there's one thing I can appreciate, Todd, it's you sticking to your word.
Watching Russell Wilson try to lead a scoring drive,
painful.
It's like watching it. I'd rather watch, I don't know, curling, right? I think
I'd rather watch curling, honestly.
Yeah. It's shocking. It's shocking to me how bad Russell Wilson, how quick the regressions happened in Russell Wilson over the last 2 years. It's a lot. He's regressed a lot, and it's unfortunate. But
he was the MVP tough. Caliber talent.
Aaron said something about Aaron said something about Jarrett Stidham being on the field at some time this year. I don't think that's a far-fetched thing to say. I really don't. I think we watched Jarrett Stidham last year after the Raiders sat Derek Carr and actually lead better scoring drives and move the ball down the field and complete big passes over 13 yards, right? And It's tough, man. It's tough watching Russ. It sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, he got the bag too. All right. So split decision there. Aaron and I went with Washington. Corey, Todd, and Carp went with Denver. So another game that will have a huge impact on the week. A game where I don't see any discrepancy in any way, shape, or form. We have the Dolphins on the road in Foxborough taking on Bill Belichick. I'll lead this one off. Miami's offense is way too talented. I don't see. I know Bill Belichick did a really nice job last week. Mac Jones actually had a really good game, but at the end of the day, Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, this offense is insane. I don't see any reason they don't win. I got Miami.
Todd. So Charlie coming in here with a comment saying Russell's head is affected by the Denver air. How? Because he's a robot.
Yes, true.
He doesn't use oxygen.
He's a cyborg.
Yeah, he does not use oxygen. Ergo, being in higher altitude doesn't impact things. And I think maybe I could buy into that for last year for half of a season. But he's a professional athlete, and if the Denver air really impacts somebody, you fucking figure it out. You're getting paid as much money as Russell Wilson is, and somebody's saying that they take care of their body as well as he does.
Yeah, that was going to be my point, Todd. Yeah, for somebody that spends over $1 million a year taking care of their body, yes.
Yeah, so
British coming in with a comment, Dolphins, but I think the Patriots cover.
Ooh, what's the line right now? 3. It's 3. Miami and 3. I think that's a fair assessment of this game.
I would agree. I think it's gonna be a close game. Todd, who do you have? Miami on the road.
I'm taking the Dolphins here too, fellas. You don't put almost 600 yards up against somebody and then not pick them the next week unless they're playing, an AFC champ or whatever. I'm taking the Dolphins here. I watched Tua make better decisions, and even when he was pressured, soften the blow on the hits. Yeah, and he softened the blow on the hits. That's an important thing for him. He's figuring out how to play with the risk. And guys, Tyreek Hill just had an insane game. He's not gonna get 200 yards a game, but boy, that was fun. That was fun to watch him cook.
A few comments rolling in here. Pops, tongue in cheek. He's lost his confidence. That was the main basis of his argument. Dad, we're just giving you shit. We agree.
We've been calling him a robot for over a year.
He's definitely lost all of his confidence, and that's the main reason that we're all on the same page there. So it wasn't a direct hit. Redlegs, they are 1 game back currently. This is not a baseball podcast, but we are all 2 of us are at least Cincinnati Reds fans. 3 of us actually. Excuse me. They are closing in on the wild card race there. Corey says the Dolphins cover. Tez says it's not the air. He wasn't good in his last 2 years in Seattle, speaking back to Russell Wilson. And then Corey coming in with another baseball comment. Also, the D-backs lost. The Reds are tied for the wild card now.
That's where I was just heading on ESPN. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah, so technically the Reds win the tiebreaker. Correct me if I'm wrong, Corey. I believe they win the tiebreaker with the Diamondbacks as well.
I believe they do have the better record this season.
It's same record, and I think it. Yeah. So then it just comes down to runs scored. Yeah, and then it comes down to runs scored after that. So we're in a good spot, fellas.
We might see the Reds make the postseason. It'll be exciting to see if they do. Expectations are still tempered in that regard.
They got to play the Cardinals the last series of the season. That makes me nervous. I don't like that.
Absolutely.
Like playing St. Louis to wrap the year.
All right. So Todd has the Dolphins. Aaron, who you got? Corey also has the Dolphins, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about my Dolphins doing the AFC East pick right now. I'll tell you that, especially after week 1. The one thing we're not talking about too here, guys, Tua looks so good. Obviously, we need him to stay healthy, but man, I'm taking the Dolphins here all day. That offense is, I think, going to run circles. I'm with Corey here. Not only they win, they cover. Well, obviously they'd have to, in order to win there. But either way, I'm telling you, Tyreek Hill just played out of his mind last week, and I think we're going to continue to see that. I think Mike McDaniel is showing himself to be, maybe the next Sean McVay. I love what I'm seeing out of Miami. I'd like to see them, button up a little bit more on defense, but the fact that they were playing the Chargers last week, and Bobby, you were talking about, Mac Jones having a phenomenal week last week, and I don't disagree, but him, throwing 54 times a game isn't a great recipe. Now, granted, they were down early, and you kind of had to do that. But I think Miami rolls here. I think they start off 2-0, and have a nice little foothold here on the division.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tez, we are definitely not talking baseball, but I know you're not exactly happy about Jordan Walker and the St. Louis Cardinals this year. So
give us a season, Tez. Jesus Christ.
Let us have one. You've had the last 20. Get over it. All right. So we got 2 games left. We got the Sunday night game and the Monday night game. Sunday night game.
These are 2 Monday night games. Hold on a second now. We just talked about the Sunday night game. These are 2 Monday night games.
I do apologize. Miami and New England is a Sunday night game. We have 2 games on Monday night.
There's only one. There's really
only one if you're asking me and Aaron. But we have the Saints on the road in Carolina. And then, obviously, we have the Browns on the road in Pittsburgh. So we'll start with the first one. Saints on the road in Carolina. We'll start with Corey's pick. Corey, you're in here. If you have any comments on this, you can obviously inflect your own opinions. Corey's taking the Saints on the road in Carolina. And I'm inclined to agree. I really liked what I saw out of the Saints last week. I think Carolina has a lot of room to grow. Carp coming in with his picks, Saints and Browns. But yeah, I agree with the Saints pick. I think the Saints are going to just take care of business on the road in Carolina. I didn't see enough out of Carolina last week to be confident in picking them this week against the Saints. So, Aaron, who you got?
Yeah, I'm taking the Saints here. I think any chance you can bet against the rookie quarterback is probably the safe move here. Of course, we had a matchup this week where 2 go against each other, like we said in the coin flip matchup. But I don't hate what I saw to Bryce Young this week by any means. But the Saints I think their defense showed up. I think Derek Carr is going to get more comfortable in this offense. I think you saw Chris Olave, show his worth.
Rashid.
Yes, please talk about him.
Rashid Shaheed or
Rashid Shaheed,
whatever his name is. He had a phenomenal game.
Phenomenal week. This. I think the Saints team is just a little bit of a class above the rest of this division. So I'm going to have to take them in a division matchup. If the Panthers end up winning this game, I don't think I would be shocked or surprised by any means. Anytime it's a divisional game like this, on prime time in Monday night, not a Thursday night game where you're on a short week. It's a longer week for these guys. I think anything can happen, but it's just hard to pick against the Saints in this spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Todd.
Yeah, I'm taking Derek Carr over a rookie quarterback here, fellas. That's really all that boils down to.
Yeah, no, it's easy, man. Yeah, the Saints look great. Carolina didn't look bad, but they didn't look great. So let's move on to the most important game of this week. Hold on, Bobby will take off 1 article of clothing per 500 stars sent. I will actually get on board with that. So, so let's see some stars come through. Chat.
Open up those pocketbooks, ladies.
Open up the pocketbooks and send the stars, and then you get to see a little bit of this. Anyways, we've got Cleveland on the road at Pittsburgh. I will unfortunately lead this one off. Steelers don't have a chance.
Wow.
The offensive line didn't show up last week, and Cleveland's defense looked too freaking good for me to even be confident, even remotely have a gut feeling the Steelers might be able to pull this out. It's going to be a long fucking day for Pittsburgh. They're going to start 0-2. They're going to have to dig themselves out of a hole, which they've been able to do in recent years. And TJ Watt's not going to be enough. He's not.
Yeah,
Patrick Peterson's not
on his
enough.
No Cam Hayward either, fellas.
And Cam Hayward is out for the next month and a half, 2 months because of a groin injury that he's going to have surgery on. So I really like the Steelers. I think they have a great young offense, but this Cleveland defense is just too good. And I think Cleveland comes in and just absolutely shellacks this. I mean, because nobody in their right mind is going to say the Steelers are better than the Bengals. And what the Browns did to the Bengals last week, there's just like it's going to be a long night. It's going to be a long night for Pittsburgh. And if they somehow figure out a way to pull this game out, I'm going to be the happiest man on the planet. But I'm thinking logically here and not with my heart. Browns win this game. I'm taking the Browns. Todd.
Yeah, so what I saw last week from rewatching and kind of watching back some of that San Francisco Pittsburgh game was not a lot of chemistry and a lot of defeated people. I watched George Pickens give up in the third quarter of that game.
It's in Pitt, Taz. The game is in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I watched him basically take himself out of the game, especially after Deontay Johnson got hurt. It's you said
Deontay it. Johnson getting hurt is a big blow to their offensive scheme because although George Pickens, I believe, is the most talented receiver on that offense, Deontay Johnson's kind of like a Chad Ochocinco that kind of opens up the door for George Pickens to do his thing. Kind of like how TJ Houshmandzadeh was able to hit the door open for him to do shit in Cincinnati and then got a contract. So,
yeah. Well, I got to tell you, you brought up that the offense is young. It's young to a fault. Running game was slow against San Francisco. Now I don't think the Browns defense is quite to what's the San Fran pedigree. But Corey said it here. The Browns defense is legit. I agree with that. I believe that Pittsburgh's offense is not legit. So I will take the legitimate defense over the not so legitimate offense here. Yep. Charlie came up with a comment. He said he's been magical through the years, but there's no more rabbits. I'm just wondering when Matt Canada gets fired and the Steelers actually bring in an offensive coordinator.
I fucking hate Matt Canada.
Offense. It's insane that guy still is employed by an NFL team calling plays. That's nuts. It's horrible,
we could just get if we could have just picked up Kellen Moore, somebody who has a brain,
I mean, you could say anybody that's available as an offensive coordinator besides Joe Lombardi, and I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Because Matt Canada is horrible, dude.
He's terrible. He's been terrible. The Steelers' offense hasn't been able to do shit since he's been the OC.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
It's been bad,
yuck.
Aaron, another good week for your Brownies, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of your points. I'm gonna throw one back at you though, Bobby. I think this is a really good stat I came across this week. The last time that the Steelers have lost a home Monday Night Football game, I was 8 months old. They've won 20 consecutive Monday Night Football games. The last time that they've lost was October 14th, 1991.
Wow.
So to just throw that away is.
I was 6 months old.
Yeah, it was. I was a little boy. I'm gonna take the Browns here. I think, like you guys have mentioned on their defense, that was just a phenomenal showing last week. Let's see it again. Let's see it again in dry conditions as well.
Yeah,
would be.
It's going to be disgusting.
But when you're talking about Deontay being out, I mean, the other part is this secondary, which I believe is phenomenal, now can focus all of that attention on Pickens. We saw, it's kind of the reverse between both the Steelers and the Bengals, right? The argument of how important is the preseason. Burrow didn't play, looked terrible. Pickens played a lot, looked great, didn't come out looking good. So, I'm just saying it's interesting that you can have both sides of it on two different ways of doing it. Oh, fair enough. I as long as Nick Chubb is going to tote that rock 18 to 20 times, if the receiving core can look, I think a lot of what I saw to Deshaun last week was
the only way the Steelers even remotely stand a chance this week is if the defense has some defensive scoring.
And I think this is a low scoring. This has like 13 to 10. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be low scoring. I will take the Browns, but I don't want to discount how tough of a task it is to go into Pittsburgh and win this game, especially, talking about how good they are on Monday Night Football at home.
Well, I mean, I think the big thing you have to take into account is a healthy TJ Watt. Like, the man is a menace on the field, and I would even at this point, I would equate Myles Garrett to TJ Watt. I think they are both almost equals on opposite sides of the ball. I think they both require a massive amount of attention. They are game breakers. This is going to come down to who can break the defense. And I think that Cleveland has much better weapons than Pittsburgh does in that regard. And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. And I think you said it's good. I don't see this game being a blowout, but it could be. It really could be.
The Browns aren't notorious for starting 2-0 either.
But we're not. This isn't a typical Browns team though. The defense is stout. The offense has weapons with a solid quarterback. Obviously, controversy aside, Deshaun Watson is the best quarterback that the Cleveland Browns have seen in the last 3 decades, and it's a different Cleveland Browns team. It just is what it is, and Pittsburgh has a formidable matchup against them this week. And after seeing what they did to the Bengals last week, I am terrified as a Steelers fan walking into Monday night. Absolutely terrified. I feel like this could be a complete shit show. So
I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a really good game.
Everybody has Cleveland here. I
don't
like I said, I would be the happiest man on the planet to be wrong this week. But I want to make sure that I'm not like, I don't want to be last this year, guys. I do not want to be last.
Can't bet with your heart.
And taking Pittsburgh this week would just be a nail in the coffin for me being last this year, because I'm not going to do that. So, if I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go down with the ship. And Cleveland takes this one for sure. So picks are in the books, ladies and gentlemen. We've gone through all 16 games. Had a great conversation. Thank you. And also, Carp, this is from all of us. That's for you. We're not old. We're just seasoned.
Also, he's he's less than a year older than all of us, I think.
Older or younger?
Or younger, excuse me.
Okay.
I don't know. We're all 32, right?
Yeah.
He might be 6 months younger, if memory serves right.
Well, Carp, your parents should have gotten together sooner. Anyways, that's a podcast, boys. Does anybody have anything else to add?
No, man. I had a 5 a.m. flight this morning. I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
Sick. 129.92. All right. Okay. He's about a year younger than us then.
Hey, Carp, I'm January 28th, 91.
Ooh.
420.91, baby. 420. Let's go. And we got March 13th over here, and I don't know what Corey's birthday is, but
it's in May.
This is May something, 16th or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I know it's close to my brother's birthday.
Got a May birthday.
I know his birthday is right next to my brother's birthday, and he's May 19th, so he's close. It's close.
But anyways, chat, thank you for all the engagement tonight. It has been a hell of a lot of fun. Carp, thanks for all the picks.
Yeah.
We will catch up with everybody next Wednesday for week 3 picks. Best of luck. Tez coming to the late comment here. Let me guess, everyone picked the Niners over my Rams at home. You're gosh darn right. You're gosh darn right. We did. We're not idiots here. The Niners are the second best team in the NFC, and the Rams aren't even close, bro. So I love you, but yeah.
He said don't blame you.
You can't blame us. So
nice week.
Best of luck to your Rams this week, though. I'm holding on to the same prayer for my Steelers that you are for your Rams. But until next week, we will see you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday and Monday. Watch some football, drink some beers. We'll see you Wednesday.
Peace.